Paul, and by the way, good to see you.
It's always great to see you. I'm so excited to have a little time with you. You know, I love you and I miss you. And I get to visit with you watching your videos, which I always get a great giggle out of. So I stay connected to you that way. And I'm always connected to you in the heart because we've shared, 10 million espressos together?
Yeah, and we're having another one together right now.
Something. Yeah, I'm drinking some Dr. Something kombucha that clears my head and makes me feel alive and doesn't addict me to anything. So
I'm going the opposite. I'm having my second espresso because it makes me more addicted to espresso.
well, I'm smoking some tobacco and herbs, so I'll meet you halfway there.
I've got some nicotine too, so we're a mess, Paul. I don't know what the hell's wrong with us.
You know, I love it. I consider myself an ongoing work of art. You know, when you're painting, sometimes you look at it and go, God, I've completely fucked this up. But if you just kind of trust and keep going, you end up going, I don't know how I created that. It's awesome. So
Yeah.
let's hold that vision for everything we're talking about.
Amen to that.
What have you been up to since you were last here? It was how long ago was that? Like 8, 9 months ago?
Yeah, since I was there at your place in person, I think that was September, so 9 months ago, roughly.
Yeah.
And what have I been up to? Sure, a lot. One thing, I've dropped that's a major change in life is I'm no longer touring, doing stand-up comedy. I don't need to explain to you how travel can wear you out. And when you're living someone else's, even living your own dream for long enough, but living what a lot of people dream of and maybe never achieve, after you do it long enough, you realize this is a low quality lifestyle. And I think when I recognize my bucket is very full,
Yeah.
and more doesn't make it more full. It just hurts. It just hurts me.
You know, it reminds me of a quote by Maxwell Maltz. You might remember that book, Psycho-Cybernetics.
Yeah.
He says something pretty profound in there that's relevant right this moment. Success is getting what you want. Happiness is wanting what you get.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen to that. I think there's a song with similar phraseology. So no longer touring, doing stand-up, which has been honestly as great as that was. So grateful for it. It's been a major life upgrade. Since I saw you, we've now got a new 5-month-old baby boy. And then
Congratulations.
thank you. Then as of yesterday, I just launched my third YouTube channel called The Better Man Project, where I just want to directly help men become more whole men, better men, fitness, stronger psychology. That's been, a long passion of mine. And I'm in a phase of life where it was just time to I want to bring this to the table. So it's a huge passion project of mine, and not touring it, not to say I have free time, but I somehow create time to do the projects. So that's the gist of what I've been up to.
It's a great thing that you're doing. It's funny because Tucker, who lives here and helps on the farm, walked in the door and he goes, hey, did you know JP started a new channel called Better Men? I'm like, cool. And then I just sent you that text of that young man, being a young man and sounding the alarm on all the bullshit, which I thought was great to see. So it's great. And if you're confused about whether or not you should be doing this right now, know each of those gray hairs is a reminder that you're an elder now. You're not a young, dumb, and full of cum dude.
I know it. I think there were times when, in my 20s, when I'm giving life advice to people, and, granted, it's founded on solid principles. Mm-hmm. There's a part of me that was very aware, man, I haven't earned it yet. I mean, I'm dedicated, working hard as a 25-year-old. But now 20 years later, I realize I've earned some gray hairs. I've had everything fall apart. I've had successes, failures, all the things you need to season yourself. And not that I'm doing that, but just more seasoned and more authentic and whole as a man than I certainly used to be.
It's certainly, if you pay attention as you grow and mature, you develop a really good bullshit filter, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what guys our age, well, I'm older than you by a fair stretch, but you're what, 44?
45.
45, and I'm about to be 65. So I'm 20 years down the trail on you. So I just shave all my gray hair off so you can't tell. But if you should have the shocking experience of seeing what's down below, I look down there and go, what the fuck's going on? Because it's all turning white. I'm like, shit, I can't hide that.
As long as the middle part still works, you're good.
Oh, it's working good. It's working fantastic. It has to, or I'll be in big trouble.
But yeah, to your point, the I don't know if it's about age, but certainly the wisdom that's you acquire more of as you age. The bullshit filter, it gets really refined, really acute. You know, that's whether it's you hear things politicians say or you hear like a health person online that you can tell like they just read that. They don't have practice doing this. Or even sometimes I'll hear myself say something like, I don't believe that. I'm so full of crap with what I just said.
Now we've got a lot of AI becoming AI, meaning people are just getting AI to answer questions and then they're just repeating it. So it's AI to AI. We don't even have the human part of it anymore. You know, we got to regain that.
My favorite BS pyramid scheme that you see too much of is the content influencers now.
Yeah.
They're all AI experts now.
I know, yeah.
But they use AI to create content about AI. Yeah. It's just like, dude, there's nothing, there's no substance. It's just pure bullshit.
Yeah.
It's fun to laugh at. I wouldn't want to be dumb enough to fall for it, but it's fun to laugh at.
I'm gonna throw you a curveball that we didn't plan on talking about, but it's so appropriate. Speaking of bullshit filters, if you look behind you, we need to do some cleaning on that one.
Gosh.
Isn't that just fucking unbelievable?
I was having a conversation with my mom a couple days ago. She was here visiting, and she heard me like yelling and screaming as I'm making a video about Israel and Zionism. And she said, yeah, tell me about that. And I gave her, just a minute of info about, hey, there's 331 out of 435 U.S. Congress members are funded by the Israel lobby.
Jesus.
That's astonishing. Thomas Massie just lost the election because there was so much Israel interest money put behind his opponent that nobody had ever heard about yet somehow wins. So I was sharing that with her and like just the surface, and she got emotional. And I
don't blame her.
She said, as a country, how did we get here where that can happen? And, the best I can answer, it's such a big, very fair question. I said, over 250 years, if you go an inch at a time, one small, slow inch, but do that every day for 250 years, you'll look back and realize you're a long way from where you started. And I think what this country's started on, at least what we're told it started on, you look at the Constitution and you look at these brave dudes who what they were willing to die for what they stood for.
Yes.
George Washington, the revolutionaries, if they weren't successful, they would have been tried as criminals and convicted of treason and hung. Their lives were on the line, but they realized life is precious, but what's worse than death is living a life without freedom. So they were willing to die for it. Some did. George Washington and others lived. We have a better life. And these documents based on this wisdom that they valued more than their own lives, they're pretty good. We have a pretty good Constitution. Those are words. And here we are 250 years later, the actions of our government are far from it. And don't tell me we still go by the Constitution. We do in some respects, but we're not run from the Constitution. And it's really heartbreaking. And I'm not a doom and gloomer. I have a lot of hope. And I think we're living in a time where people are waking up, and we need to wake up even more and realize if you outsource the life you want to have, government, here's what I want, like, give me a good life, poop in one hand and wait for that to happen, see which one fills up first. Yeah. But we're living in a time where people are waking up. Like, this is the age of decentralization. We, the people, have the power. We have all along. And it's on us to create the lives we want. It's easier not to, but it's up to us to apply ourselves, as individuals and our families, and better the communities so we can have the lives we want and we want for our children. But waiting around for the government to do that, like, hey, government, just do the Constitution and things will be great for us. We're living in a time where people are realizing outsourcing our power, that's a dead paradigm. So for me, the hope is just more and more people waking up and taking individual responsibility.
Yeah, it's true. And as I've said on many podcasts, the same exact technologies they're using against us, we can use against them. Yeah. I mean, look at what happened during COVID with people like Joe Rogan having more followers than all the major media networks combined, and Tucker Carlson leaving Fox and now having his own show, which probably has a better followership than any of the major media.
Legitimately does. Yeah.
And we can share. They can't filter all of it. I mean, there's just, like, you and I were sharing important information this morning, and I think we just have to be smart enough to use the power of the technology to share the truth and to share solutions and to stay connected together. And that's the way we've got to do it. I've seen recently, I can't remember the name of the small country, but they overthrew their entire government and said, Albania, yeah, no more of this bullshit, no more Israel crap. And then I just saw a video this morning, same thing happening in Italy right now. They're saying, we want nothing to do with Israel. If you don't stop it, we're going to shut you down. We'll shut the whole country down. Of course, you never see it on any of the mainstream media, but it's so great to see. It's kind of like the Canadian truckers revolution, but spreading around the world, and they can't stop it. There's too many of us. It's just we have to do this. You talked about the 250 inches. Well, it certainly puts a lot of depth and perspective to the old saying, money is the root of all evil, because all this shit tracks back to people getting bought off. That's the root cause of all this. And, years ago, as you know, I've studied a lot of biographies, over 150 of them, because I've always wondered what made these great thinkers and people tick and how their lives unfolded. And it's just been such a fascinating journey, and I still do it to this day. But one of the biographies I read, it was part of a collection called The World's 100 Greatest Thinkers that I bought. And one of them was Adam Smith, who is considered to be the first economist. And in 1700 and something, he said something so shocking in his biography that it's worth repeating right now. He warned that whenever he went to businesses that were supposed to be government meetings, when he went to meetings that were supposed to be government meetings, big businessmen came there. And he said, all they talked about was how to get more money out of people without any concern for their welfare. And if we allow this to continue in government, we will lose our freedom and it will destroy our nation. Wow. And that's exactly what's happened.
And he saw that well over 200 years ago.
Yeah, it was 1750 or 1770, I can't remember, but it was in the 1700s.
And that must, like, today it's so obvious.
It's brutal.
Like, good on him for having the acuity of vision to not only see what's happening, like he literally had to be in the room with them to see it. And then to be able to extrapolate, here's where that's going to go. If we allow it. And then welcome to 2026, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, he said these people care only about money and have no interest in people's welfare. And isn't that just a fucking bullseye that just unfortunately keeps hitting the bullseye until we change the target and get rid of the arrow and say, fuck this. We got to stop this shit.
Yeah.
I mean, Christ, the list of shit you and I could get into is so goddamn long. We'd have to podcast for 200 hours just to even touch on the shit.
Yeah. And it'd probably take at least a year off our lifespan touching on everything in one conversation.
We just have to turn each challenge into an opportunity. And I think that's what's I think that's the rite of passage we're in right now.
100%.
We've got to take these challenges and turn them into opportunities. Just like I said, we can use mind enslaving tech to be mind freeing. I mean, you and I don't enslave each other's minds with text messages. We help each other see more, be more, feel better, feel connected. And I'm like, good, JP's kicking ass and I'm kicking ass and Kingsbury's kicking ass and all my friends are kicking. Everybody that I know is doing their best. And I think that's beautiful, you know, and I think times of great pressure, if you can stay centered in your heart and ask what would love do now, are also times of great creativity.
I agree. And I look, not that I like talking about COVID times, but I look back at the COVID times and all the censorship and weird stuff that was happening. And I'm so grateful for it. I got more creative. So many people got stronger over that, like a 3-year period than they had in the previous 30 years.
Yeah.
Is because like life was serving up this challenge, this resistance. Life had more weight on the bar.
Yeah.
People than they ever had. And you can either lay under the bar and let it crush you, play victim and bitch about the bar. Like this wrong that there's so much weight on the bar. Cool. And nobody's going to argue with you, but good luck with that. Or you could say, look at all this weight on the bar. Let me fucking lift it. And you try to lift it day one, like, it's pretty, but 30 days into it, okay, I just lifted the bar. And then a couple months later, you're picking the bar up and throwing it out of your field.
Do you remember the story of Milo?
Milo, I don't think so.
I used to have a strength training journal called Milo. You probably saw it in my office back in the day. It's a strongman's journal, like hardcore, you know, power lifters, Eugene Sandow types.
Yeah.
But the story of Milo is very interesting and it's very appropriate to what you're sharing right now. Milo's, I don't know if it's a true story or a myth, but it was kind of the theme of the journal. Milo, as a young man, was tasked by his father to pick up a baby bull and carry it every day. And he said, you have to carry this bull every day until it's a full-size bull, or you're never going to become a real man. And so the story is about Milo picking the bull up and carrying it every day, and he had to grow as the bull grows. Wow. And so the strength journal was all about being Milo and picking up a little more weight every day and making yourself stronger. And I think that's what we've got to do right now.
Yeah. I love that story. And I think that's a very true metaphor to relate to. And sometimes I wonder, like, you know, before we're each incarnated into this body, you think about like, cool, you know, if someone subscribes to the term soul contracts, like, what did we come here for?
That.
Yeah. Most of us didn't say like, I want to be a human. This very valuable experience. I want to be a human and experience what it's like to be a weak piece of shit fueled by cowardice. Not many people, probably not. Most it would be, hey,
what a waste of time.
Yeah. I want to experience strength. I want to experience freedom. And of course, like, get ready for the polar opposite because that's what you need. So we come down here and we look at the challenges we face, like, politically in the US, world stuff, but also let's not bypass our personal lives. Like, I went through a divorce. You go through so much personal as well. And the victim mindset would, you know, it's like, poor me. But I think the empowered mindset is, you look at that and you don't say, this is happening to me. This is happening for me. Yeah. If you want to get strong, cool. Get ready to carry a bull that will crush you. on day one. Or you can barely do it. It takes everything. You're filled with lactic acid.
Yeah.
But I think so many of these things, even though we look at them and say they're evil, I think they are. They're also great gifts depending on how you respond to them.
Well, you know, since so many people read the Bible, I always quote Isaiah 45:7. I create the light and the dark, good and evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. Yeah. And I think if we really take advantage of what evil offers us, it's always pointing toward the good.
Yeah.
It's because Bill Gates is trying to get rid of all the cows so we can't lift them that we know we got to protect them.
Yeah.
It's because we've got criminals in government that we don't want to act that way or we're screwed. It's because people are pedophiles that we know we got to protect our children. I mean, on goes the list, right? The evil, in my opinion, is the product of someone who is disconnected from the self. Yeah. They always think that whatever they do has no consequence to them, but really, in the Jungian sense of the word, the self with a capital S-E-L-F is everything that supports your ability to live. So what is that? It's food, it's water, it's clean air, it's healthy soil, it's family, it's relationships, it's friends, it's legitimate teachers, it's wise people, it's religion that leads to spirituality. You know, Father Sean O'Leary says religion is training wheels for spirituality, and spirituality is a progressively expanding sphere of wholeness. So we realize that, you know, JP realizes JP's not just JP. He's his friends, his family, his children, his environment. And without those things, who is JP? Who is Paul? We're just a bunch of, we might as well be a sea cucumber. We're just a bunch of cells floating around hoping to breathe and eat something, you know? And I think the evil is really giving us a great chance to look inside of ourselves and say, where am I doing that? Where am I acting like Bill Gates? Maybe I'm just projecting it out because he's a great scapegoat. Where am I trumping people? You know, where am I expecting others to do a good job because I pay them, but I'm not doing my best job for people that pay me?
What you're saying is it's worth more than gold. The self-reflection, like, how do you perceive Bill Gates? Whatever, greedy asshole, you know, and what evil, cool. Where am I those things? Mm-hmm. Most of us who are decent people, we're not those things overtly all the time. We're not going to be recognized. But what is that in me that may not even be expressed with words or actions, but just, do I treat myself like a tyrant at times? Do I belittle myself? Do I censor myself? Because, you know, when I was going through so much censorship during COVID with my work, I started asking that question. Mm-hmm. And then I would forget to ask the question. I can never be reminded enough. It's like, damn it, I really need this question. But I realized, dude, I've spent so much of my life, even to this day, censoring myself. Yeah. So my emotional reaction at YouTube and the Biden administration working with big tech to censor speech, my emotional reaction to that is reflecting to me what I don't see about myself. I do that to me. I don't do it to the other people. I'm more sinister than that. I do it to me.
If you are enjoying this podcast and the topic of shadow work intrigues you, then we'd like to invite you to join Paul's Spirit Gym priority notification list. Spirit Gym members share their experiences and aha moments, as well as supporting each other's personal growth and helping one another to find and live a life filled with meaning and purpose. Coming soon, Paul is releasing a whole new dimension to the Spirit Gym community, and you can be one of the first to learn more and grab the opportunity. Head over to myspiritgym.com and sign up to be notified when doors open. That's myspiritgym.com to join the priority notification list.
Yeah, that's what shadow work's all about. I don't know if you know, but I just recently released my 400th episode, which is a special on shadow work. And I put a lot of work into it to help everybody understand what it is, why it's important, and why it's got to be a daily ongoing process for the rest of our lives. And look, you remember the coin drill very well. That's how it starts, right? What is my negative thought? I'm not good enough. What's your dream? I am happy, healthy, and whole. Flip it over. I'm not good enough. I'm doing my best every minute to be the person I came to be. That's how we work with the shadow and convert it into something that's dream affirmative. And I just think that, one of the wisest human beings, if he was a human being, there's debate on it, that I've ever studied is Lao Tzu. And Lao Tzu said, the government always reflects the people.
Yeah.
And he also said, if you want to change the world, change yourself.
Yeah.
And I think those two need to be put on plaques everywhere. I think we should get rid of all the religious scriptures because most of them confuse the shit out of themselves. And we need to have the golden rule everywhere and the silver rule, which I learned about from Annie Helfer, who is a haiku poet. The silver rule is do unto yourself as you would have others do unto you.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important.
Yeah. I can relate to that. I tend to treat people better than I treat myself. So that golden rule and the silver rule, with no guidance other than that, I'd imagine things would look pretty good. Just lots of people living by those rules. And we don't even need to depend on other people. Your life starts to look pretty good if just you live by the golden and the silver rule.
I asked Claude, Anthropic, what would happen if we got rid of all the scriptures in the world and just filled all these books with the golden rule and the silver rule? And Claude said, in paraphrase, initially there'd be a lot of resistance and confusion, but ultimately there would be an end to a tremendous amount of war and people would be much happier and healthier.
Well, we can't have that.
No, it's not profitable enough.
That's fascinating. And yeah. You just think of like all the religion BS that creates wars, like BS propaganda that Israel's using, like God wants us to do this. God's chosen people are just doing a little genocide, but it's bad. And there's been so many religious wars. So you eliminate all that manipulative propaganda, the interpretations of the 12 millionth passage out of this text.
Yeah.
Here's two pretty irrefutable sentences. We're just doing these, guys. Can you create a war from these? If you do, nobody's going to believe it.
Confucius was a wise man. That's where the golden rule came from.
Yeah.
As a comedian, I know you're aware of the importance of a sense of humor about ourselves. What are some of the things you see about human beings today that are worth each of us having a good laugh about? I mean, we've hit on a few, but I know you must have some more.
Man, I mean, generally, our blind spots are always where we need to laugh the most. That's where most of our comedic material about ourselves is found. It's what you don't know about yourself. And, things that are obvious about yourself that other people see that you don't, like, that's prime stuff. And that's why, it points to the value of shadow work. One of my all-time favorite authors, Jungian psychologist James Hollis, he says it so simply: what you don't know about yourself controls you more than what you do know about yourself. That's very humbling. So, man, looking at where we're hypocrites, where we're unself-aware, where we gaslight ourselves. I mean, this is just hilarious. Do you know who the F1 driver is named Lewis Hamilton?
No.
He's one of the all-time winningest F1 drivers, F1 being the premier race car series in the world. The guy's worth $500 million. and he's dating Kim Kardashian, who's worth $2 billion. Good for them. Get this. Lewis Hamilton was recently on Jay Shetty's podcast, who is just an absolute fraud of a spiritual teacher. Different topic. And Lewis Hamilton says there should be a wealth cap. People shouldn't be able to have unlimited money. There should be a law created to cap our wealth. And this idiot Jay Shetty's like, yeah, that's a good idea. It's just like, Lewis Hamilton, do you know you're worth $500 million? While you're wearing a $3.5 million watch, you said that? And your girlfriend's $2 billion? Yeah. So laughable. I mean, like, I feel sorry for him. Like, what a poor, dumb bastard he is. But that kind of, it's like, cool, where do I do that Lewis Hamilton thing? Where am I just so blind and self-aware where I'll go tell, my lady, hey, we got to spend more time with the kids. She's like, you've worked all day. You haven't seen them. I'm like, well, it was easier for me to see that you should spend more time with the kids. And, just for example, I mean, we spend more time with our kids than we can imagine. But just things like that, where we're the biggest dipshit in the room. Let's recognize it and let's laugh at ourselves. And by the way, now you're laughing your shadow into your conscious awareness.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of it and act like it's the boogeyman and like have a fear reaction. Laugh that motherfucker into the room.
Yeah, I always say the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. And that's what shadow work is. When you can see... like I'm almost 65, but I could still make love to every single beautiful woman that crosses my path. If I could get away with it, I'd be, yes, let's rock and roll. And, and so I look at that and I go, look at the younger guy in me still there, you know? It's like, yeah, I'd probably be too tired and it sounds good, but it's just like, there's the devil I can see. Now, if I didn't see that, I'd be like a dog humping legs all over the place and I'd get thrown in jail for being a weirdo or whatever. But that's just
or like a Catholic priest where that exactly. Devil that you refuse to know gets so misdirected into these screwed up ways.
Yeah, you project it out and you act it out and you blame it on everybody else. But I think it's just, the thing I love about real shadow work is it's not like you're trying to beat yourself up or get yourself burned in hell or anything. It's just like, how about just getting to know yourself and what's in there?
Yeah.
And as I say to people all the time, you think because you have an ego that you know who you are. But the question I ask my students all the time, and I've got to admit they're pretty honest about the answer. I say, if I could use a quantum supercomputer and download everything in your mind that you actually think is your thoughts and your ideas and track them all back to parents and teachers and cultural influences and social media and movies, et cetera, what percentage of those thoughts do you think would authentically be of your own creation? The average student guesses about 2%. I say that's pretty accurate, I would imagine. And so the point I'm making is, the person we think we are, until we start doing shadow work and real spiritual development, is not who we are. It's what mom, dad, and education and religion and culture indoctrinated us into being. And so the reason the shadow's there is because something inside of us, call it the soul, knows that shit's not good to let out. The problem is we don't ever hold it back. We just project it onto somebody else. And, the devil is the name of the creature that Western religion created to carry all of its shadow, and it's always the devil's fault. But if everybody was just to do a little shadow work every day and say, wow, look at that, and realize that all that fear and insecurity and sin holds libido, holds life force. And every time you meet that, greet it and say, there it is. I acknowledge that I have that potential in me, but I don't need to act it out. Now you don't have to repress it. You just say, there's that devil. I know how to manage it. And all that creative energy is floating up into your heart and into your head to be useful. I don't think there's a better practice for all of us right now, or we're just going to keep waiting for Jesus to come back and Donald Trump to fix the world, and it's always passing the buck to somebody else. And it's like, how long do we have to go before we finally pull our head out of our ass and say, okay, it's time to get honest with ourselves?
Yeah. Speaking of ass, here's an analogy, my understanding of what you just said, and I love what you just said. Imagine your fecal matter inside, that's metaphorically your shadow. Mm-hmm. Now, when you acknowledge, I too am full of shit. Mm-hmm. I need to direct this. I need to acknowledge it, not deny it, and direct it accordingly. Cool. Like, you do your shadow work, you sit down on the toilet, you're not suppressing it, you're not denying it, you're giving it appropriate expression, but then
you can smell it.
You smell it, but then you leave the bathroom. Then you go about your day. You have better energy. You're not filled with toxins for it. You're not weighed down. You're not fatigued. Just imagine someone who only denies their fecal matter. Like, they never use a toilet because they won't acknowledge they have shadow fecal matter. So they walk around all day, and you get the, diarrhea spraying up out of their pants, under their back, and people around them. That's what happens when we don't do the shadow work. And I agree with you. I think it's the most important work we can do. You look at what's going on in America, the world, whatever kind of problems you see, problems in the health industry, Bill Gates, glyphosate in the food supply, Monsanto doing this. If you look at all that and say, we deserve that because it's an accurate reflection and representation of what's inside of us, and then you do your shadow work, it's very humbling, but in my experience, it's very rewarding. Not to say I am like anywhere near perfect. I probably should do 100 times more than I do. But the point is, you're a much more aligned human being with something other than spraying diarrhea on people and yourself.
Yeah, Jung said it's never healthy to try to be perfect, but it is a very good idea to be well-rounded.
Yeah.
The problem with perfection, from a perfectionist point of view, is you're always dependent on somebody else's acknowledgement or approval. So no matter how hard you try, you can't get everybody to laugh in the room. You can't everybody to say you look great. So it's a trap. But the well-rounded person is someone who accepts themselves, acknowledges themselves, and sees themselves as an opportunity for growth. I mean, what we're really talking about is what I call finding your growth edge. Like my growth edge, for example, because I spend a lot of time guiding people, is to have more empathy for their situation, because being raised the way I was and, being a paratrooper and all the stuff about, I had to kind of learn to toughen up and stuff my feelings and just make shit happen, whether I was uncomfortable or not. So oftentimes I'm with younger people, hearing them whine and complain, and I'm like, Jesus, Murphy, I can't even believe you're whining and complaining about that shit.
I've literally heard you say that to people in the past.
It's like, quit being a fucking pussy. But you see, there's my growth edge. Just like, okay, yeah. I'm not. Sometimes I have to figure out a way out of my own viewpoint or mindset or my own life experience, and to let people more fully into me, which is to bring more of my feminine capacity on and get my father the fuck out of me, so I can really feel where they're at, because it's easy to forget that everything's relative. Like what I think's hard work and you think is hard work, whether it be in life or in a gym or just in general, somebody else thinks is ridiculous and dangerous. And why would you do that to yourself? Yet they're just as human as we are. There's just as much God in them as there is in us. And so the circumstances of each person's life are so unique. The point is, I always try to keep a look at where's my growth edge. And for me, in this context, it's just this having more empathy and trying to allow myself to feel a person's reality without filtering it with my own bias.
Yeah.
Where's your growth edge, bud?
It's kind of the opposite of that.
Is this a joke?
It is. I mean, it's kind of like if one polarity is developed relatively more, well, the opposite polarity is your growth edge.
Yeah.
And I know my childhood, by comparison, I'm sure I was like coddled and nurtured way more than you. I know all about your childhood, and
Yeah.
not to say I had a perfect childhood or there weren't challenges, there were, but I know about your childhood, brother. And it's like, yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
And then, you know, your military background, like, dude, I didn't have that. Like, I played sports, and worked out hard, but that's child's play compared to like just how gritty you have to be performing the way you were in the military. And you had so much more responsibility on you earlier. I think probably both as a child, but then as you were 17 or 18 when Paul Jr. was born?
I'd been 18 for 2 weeks. So I was 17 for most of Sue's pregnancy.
Right.
And I had no support from either side on the parent side. They were both broke and both like, you're on your own.
Dude, here I am, 45, having a baby with honestly a perfect mother.
Yeah,
my baby,
thank you, God.
Yet that is still so much responsibility. I cannot imagine being 18 by the skin of my teeth and having the weight that you carried. So what I'm just illustrating is I was way softer than you were. So I had that compassion, empathy side fairly developed. And, you know, then getting into, another guy I worked with, John McMullen, his work is like very feminine, compassion oriented, and it's great, but it's like, cool, that developed my compassion side even more. And what I've been working on for the past 5 years, and I've just reached a new edge. Like I can tell I'm cool. I've made some progress. I need to go further. I need to still retain compassion, but not default to compassion with everything, because it's not situationally appropriate every time, every place. It's like if someone tries to break into my house, I'm not going to like, hey, I understand. You must have a hard life. I understand why you want to take from me. Could you please? I mean, if you need to, I get it. No, it's like, here's my gun and
run. But drop that shit first.
Yeah. So what I notice, whether I'm saying something online in videos, conversations with my lady, I intentionally need to be harder, not afraid of conflict, not do all these pretentious, like softening statements before I deliver what I need to say, but just fucking say it. And at times deliver a harsh perspective, because that's my edge. Like I need more warrior like. So I think you and I were exploring opposite ends.
We're yin and yanging each other. And you know, what you bring out of me right now is the definition I've been giving people of what an adult is for a very long time. You've probably heard me say it before. An adult is someone who says what they mean and means what they say.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that, you're still a child. And if you can't do that, then we can't rely on each other's communications, because it's like asking someone, how you doing today? And they say, oh, I'm doing great. And, you know, and you never really know what's going on, which means in the military, that's called a snafu, situation normal, all fucked up. And that's how people get killed. So I think it's important for you to do that. And it's kind of interesting for me to hear you say that, because when you were in your 20s and spending a lot of time with me and working with me at the Institute, the paradox of it is I was the hard edge, ass kicking, traveling around the world, blowing people's paradigms to pieces, but exhausted. And you were the only guy that I could talk to that actually could listen to me and not try to fix me. And strangely enough, I was able to get the connection from a young man that helped an older man keep it together.
Yeah.
And now you're going into the stage that I was at when I needed your help. So I guess that means, JP, I need to listen to you and tell you how much I love you and support you and say this too shall pass.
Hi, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the show. I imagine you know that magnesium is one of the minerals that people in North America are the most deficient in, but it's an extremely important mineral to have in your diet regularly. And believe it or not, Bioptimizers has improved what was already well known to be the best magnesium formula out there called Magnesium Breakthrough. So I've got Wade Lightheart with me to explain what it is they've done to improve this already excellent formula. Wade, what is new about your new Mag Breakthrough formula?
Well, it's called sucrosomial magnesium. So we have 7 different types of magnesium in Magnesium Breakthrough because they're uptaken by different parts of the body. But a new type of magnesium has been created called sucrosomial. And what it shows in the research and science is that it's actually even more absorbable by the body, particularly inside of the brain, which is a big aspect to enhance neurotransmitter formation, as well as ensuring the rest and relax response in the nervous system that a lot of people will take magnesium for. They find it, clocks them down, helps them sleep better, allows for the relaxation of striated and smooth muscle tissue in the body, which creates an energetic relief. And so when we added sucrosomial, we were able to demonstrate inside our lab facility that we were able to get better improvements. Of course, we have a partnership with Birch International University. We have some patents we're working on, which will kind of relay some of these things. But sucrosomial was a no-brainer when we added to the formula, improved the results or improved the uptake. And the reports back from our testing team were like, wow, we get more results with less caps. And that's always the goal for our company.
That's excellent. I love it. I always say, and people have probably heard me say it before, I'm so amazed how you guys are constantly and always improving and working your best to not only make better products for us, but it doesn't seem to me that it gets more expensive as you make them better. So that's a real gift to the world. Thank you.
Spirit Gym with Paul Chek listeners now get 15% off their purchase of Probiotic Breakthrough by going to bioptimizers.com/Spirit Gym and use the code PAUL15 at checkout. You can choose from 3 different sizes, and in addition, Bioptimizers always have special bonus gifts and additional savings when you get multiple bottles. So head to bioptimizers.com/Spirit Gym and check out Probiotic Breakthrough with the code PAUL15 for 15% off.
And I'll just tell you, shut the fuck up, Paul. Just like,
God damn it.
Quit doing my whining for me.
Yeah. Thank you, Dad.
Yeah, just kick my ass. Don't have compassion for me.
Don't turn me into a pussy.
Yeah.
I'll never get anything done in the world.
Yeah, but that's interesting. And of course, last thing I'll say is I, sometimes like for my Better Man Project channel, I had the first video up and tons of great comments, people sharing some of their stories. Here's where I'm at. And at times I'll see excuses like, I have this going on. So, I can't get after it in the gym. And my comments are short, sweet, and it's meant to be a harsh kick in the ass. Like time and place for compassion, time and place for kicking the ass. I'm probably not always on the mark, but having access to essentially both tools, I think is the goal. And then learning the discernment, what situation, what person requires which tool, rather than just being the carpenter. All I have is, the hammer of compassion. So I guess everything needs compassion. It's like, no, not everything.
What you're really talking about, JP, is the work of love, and love always comes with responsibility. There's no way around it. And learning how to discern how to love in a way that's honest. I mean, if you just keep giving a drug addict money, hoping that they're going to go away and heal themselves, then that's too much empathy and compassion. And it's not really what they need. What they need is some tough love. They need some direction. They need the kind of support that they can't manipulate and twist to support the pathology, which means you got to actually slow down and really think about, how do I love this person so they don't destroy themselves, not taking the easy way out. And I congratulate you. That's a hell of a growth edge right there. It's one I have to work on every day. And, you know, having had 70,000 students come through the Chek Institute, a lot of them young men and women, I have to think sometimes, because I have to hear a lot of these stories like you're talking about, and excuses. And I'm like, you realize you are actually just doing a very good job of creating exactly what you don't want.
Yeah.
And so I like to remind people of the very wise and sometimes challenging to accept words of Marshall Rosenberg, the founder of nonviolent communication. I have to are the words of a child. I choose to are the words of an adult. So whenever people say I have to, I say, could you please restate that as I choose to, or you have no free will, and you're always going to blame somebody else's for your problems. So if you just say I choose to and become aware of the choices you're making, because really life is the product of choices. Choices are largely driven by beliefs, and most of those beliefs are unconscious. So here we are back to shadow work.
Yeah, amen. Well, if you notice, one day you might have to say, JP, you're too much of an asshole, and I'll say, Paul, you're too much of a pussy.
Yeah.
Come back to center and find.
Well, you know, if you put those together, we got a woman.
That's exactly what you have.
And you know,
in the middle, in between.
You know the story about. I don't remember exactly how the joke goes. You probably know it. Somebody was once saying something in class or something, you know, something about being so tough. And a woman said, why do you think guys are so tough? She said, if you want to know what's tough, it's a pussy. They can take a beating and they can give birth and keep on going. And none of you can do that. And I'm like, oh, you got a really solid point there.
Yeah, that is actually very true point.
Well, speaking of all of that, since you are a world famous comedian, if Trump is a joke, what is the punchline?
Man, I think us.
That's a good answer.
We're the punchline. We did it. We did that. Jokes on us.
Oh,
Man,
God.
Yeah, and the punchline is us.
Shadow unveiled.
Yeah, it's us giving our power away, us falling for something. And I don't know, like Trump has objectively changed and betrayed campaign promises. Yeah. No new wars, prosecute Epstein criminals, even just those two things, like that's some real material there. And he's done some other amazing things. I'm like, we have a better country now. Yeah. But like those two big things, those were his major campaign promises that got a lot of people to vote for him. And not just that, but actively support him online and in person. I was one of them. And man, so he said what I wanted to hear. Yeah. And I fell for that. Mm-hmm. Even if he meant it at the time, or it was a deception the whole time, even if he meant it at the time, I fell for it. Like, that's my fault. I didn't have the awareness to say, like, well, shoot, like,
what's his history?
Yeah.
What does the word Trump actually mean, ladies and gentlemen? Think about that.
and also, I mean, you bring up a point. You look at his character faults that he's had the whole time. I've pointed them out just because I thought they were amusing, even when I was supporting him. But the guy's certainly greedy. He's super materialistic. He's probably done some legitimately shady business deals. He's gone bankrupt. Like, he's cheated on all of his wives. And I'm not getting even into like allegations of criminal activity. I know some of them were fraudulent, but like all of them, I don't know. So you look past those glaring, like Paul, if you had the exact same background as President Trump in business and character faults, I would not go into business with you.
I wouldn't recommend you did.
But with President Trump, I fell for it. I'm like, yeah, there's faults, but like, look at what he's saying now. And like, what a story of triumph. These political persecutions. The guy is so strong, no, they can't take it. Even shot in the ear. They missed, mostly missed. What a strong guy. And it's like, yeah, I fell for that seduction. It's kind of like, probably as weak as part of me feels inside, here's my shadow, that portrayal of strength makes me feel strong. I'm compensated. If I can attach to him, I'm escaping temporarily this sense of weakness I have, this sense of cowardice, this sense of obedience. So it's not funny the way I'm articulating it, but that's at least my punchline, how I'm a part of the punchline if Trump is a joke.
Yeah, I think that's honest. You know, a lot of people are going to be squirming in their seats right now, but if you're squirming, pay close attention to why. You know what you have made me remember through this conversation is the myth of Midas. Remember the myth of Midas? Oh, you do. Midas is the myth of the man that was so desperate to have everything turn into gold that the gods gave it to him.
Oh, yeah.
And then everything he touched turned to gold, but then he hugged his daughter and she turned to gold. He touched his wife, so his whole family became statues of gold. And everywhere he went, everything was turning into gold, and he had nobody to relate to. And he realized how terrible of a mistake this was. And I think that is just such a perfect myth for the billionaires and the globalists and Trump. I saw a video, and it might have been an AI video, but it was a video of how they had taken Gaza Strip and turned it into some like high-rise condo complex. And, you know, Trump's son is already buying up all the property over there and all this kind of crazy shit. But it showed them erecting a huge gold statue of Donald Trump. And I thought, there's the fucking myth of Midas right there.
Do you know he put a gold statue of himself up at his Mar-a-Lago resort?
Oh, yeah. Well, it could have been that, too. That's it. That's the myth of Midas, right? Yeah. But it ends badly. Midas actually has to beg the gods to take that gift back.
Yeah.
So that he can live, so he can, you know, hug his family and have a human life, you know, and it's just, I don't know, man. Like, I study mythology because the depth of truth in mythology is just shocking sometimes. I mean, my God, you get into the myth of Narcissus and the golem and Frankenstein, the story of Frankenstein and AI. You start seeing, my God, we've been fucking around with, you know, Pandora's box is like the ultimate myth of our day, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think with these pesky myths, what they remind me of is humans don't do anything new. We might have, which kind of means like, yeah, we're not as creative as we thought. We can have obviously new ways of expressing something very old, like AI is a very new thing. And, you know, you look at the context of 2026, the stuff that's happening and how corruption and greed expresses itself, that looks new, but it's a very old human pattern expressed. And I think it's been years since I've seen it, but I think have you seen the movie Lord of the Rings?
Yes. Yeah. It's been a long time since I saw it too.
And, you know, it's just like the ring.
Yeah.
Everybody who touches it gets all consumed by the power of the ring. They don't have enough strength or resilience, a sense of self. They're not pure enough to hold the ring without getting owned by the ring.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the role of President of the United States is probably that. I don't know if there's a human being that could maintain uncorruptibility being in that position. And even like when a normal person, is like president, who can relate to that? But you think a normal person, just with the ring of money, like so many people can become corrupt. I think fame and influence is another one of these rings where you look at the myths, you're going to learn, like, here's what happens unless you are really threading the needle. And, people get consumed. They completely lose themselves to that thing they value. Turn my world to gold, and then your world's destroyed because everything's turned to gold.
It really, to me, it really makes it clear why having a legitimate heart-centered spiritual practice has to be the foundation of our growth and development process. Because if we can't love ourselves enough to genuinely have love to give to others, we're already susceptible to the ring and to the gold and to the distractions. And that's a hard thing to do because we don't really have a good education system to teach parents how to be parents. We don't even have a good education system to teach kids how to engage sex when the time comes. I mean, one of the most profound books I ever read was Voices of the First Day by Robert Lawler. It's all about the Aboriginal culture. And when I studied that book and saw how the Aboriginal elders taught the kids about sex and how the Aboriginal women, in the Aboriginal culture, a man can't get married until every woman in the tribe says he is ready to be married. And they teach him. And just to give you an example of how they taught this stuff, whenever the kids were out playing, they were encouraged to try to find any of the older people that were sexually active having sex. And at night, when they had their evening campfire, the kids would emulate whoever they saw. And if the tribal elders and people could guess who it was they were talking about, the kids got rewarded. So they were learning that sex was play. Then all the married women were tasked with having sex with all the unmarried men, and they had a special hut in the center of every tribe.
That's quite the task, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. And so what they did is all the younger men that hadn't been approved of by the women yet would go and they could have sex with any of the married women, and their job was to teach them how to be a husband and how to pleasure a woman. And only when every woman in the tribe said he's ready for marriage, which was around 38 to 40 years of age for the average Aboriginal man, then he was able to be married. But then he had to know that his wife was going to be contributing to the development of the young men. So what I'm saying is, like, this is just one example, which is supposed to be the oldest tribe of people on this planet, of a level of wisdom that we've lost, where you had wise people guiding younger people, educating younger people, keeping sex healthy, training young men of the importance of how to love, nurture, and care for a woman. And on it goes. I mean, like, we've got so much distractions from what's really important. I just, like, the young people, for so many generations now, haven't had a snowball's chance in hell of really navigating life because it's just complicated as shit. There's booby traps everywhere. There's temptation everywhere. The role models are look at television and see that. And, God, I don't need to tell you. It's so obvious. But I think one of the things, just like you just started your new YouTube channel to help young men, we really need as many wise people that are spiritually mature and not caught in some dogma or focused on this is the only religion or this is the only way. Like, you need somebody. We need as many wise people that have lived fully and tried a bunch of shit to see where the booby traps are, to say, okay, look, this is what you're going to come face to face with. Here's a toolkit of the basics. I can't make the decisions for you, but I can tell you when this happens, then this is what you need to think about. And if you don't, the consequences are probably going to be such and such.
Yeah.
I think without that, look, kids learn more about iPhones and stupid shit, and they obviously learn very quickly. We just got to put some common sense back into the formula, or I don't know how far we're going to go before everybody dies of fucking cancer at the rate we're going.
Yeah, I don't think without more common sense, I don't think we can get a hell of a lot further. We've been the car's been empty of common sense for a while.
Yeah,
and I think with like great human wisdom that you talked about, this tribe they pass on in their way. I think a lack of wisdom compounds. You just imagine. Even just 4 generations ago, even though it's probably been happening way longer. But 4 generations ago, let's just say whatever, dad was in the war and mom's having to kind of make ends meet. So the fatherly wisdom and the motherly wisdom isn't as integrated in children because mom and dad are distracted. And by the way, you add into now we're in a materialistic culture, so parents are valuing the acquisition of money and goods more than they're valuing instilling good values and time with children. So 4 generations ago, that starts. So the next generation, they only get 75% of the wisdom they should, and then that's going to compound. Then that generation only instills 75% of that 75%. With the compounding rise of stupidity from lack of actual wisdom.
Compounding disinterest.
Good way to say the compounding disinterest. Then here we are where there's like almost no real fatherly wisdom that people on the whole carry out of childhood, and maybe probably motherly wisdom as well. But I'll just pick on the fathers because I see that really matters right now.
Yeah.
So here we are. And I think looking at hope, not just doom and gloom, I think a really important solution to this, one of them, and I think probably most profoundly, is those of us who are about to be fathers or are fathers is right now, grow the fuck up, do the best we can, and prioritize children. Don't prioritize the acquisition or other things, but don't outsource the raising of the children to the schools.
No.
Don't outsource a single thing. So first and foremost, fathers need to embed themselves in the actual role of father once again. And then those of us who say like, well, what is fatherly wisdom? I don't know. Here's where hope, it's like, well, cool. You don't have to wait till your next incarnation and like learn it then. What a beautiful time we live in where you can turn on this podcast. You can turn on a podcast like Modern Wisdom, and you're getting really good, wise people you would not have had access to 20 years ago.
Yep.
So learn from them. And of course, that's going to be a learning into your brain. And then we got to apply what we learn so we can be, for the males, we can be better men and better fathers. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal, like you said, is to be as well-rounded as we can, and knowing one step of improvement from where we're at, that's great. Do that step. Don't shame yourself for not having done 100 steps yet, but after that step, then take your next step. So, it's kind of like our children deserve that, but also the fate of humanity kind of matters. And if we don't have the common sense and fatherly wisdom and motherly wisdom that used to just be what the tribes do, like we don't have a lack of that, because like that's what we do. That's the priority. We get food and we do this. We raise the kids to become great adults, actual adults, not grown-ups, children wearing grown-up suits.
Yeah, and because I work with so many people in life crisis, and health challenges and lost. You know very well what I do for a living. But the thing that I tell my students, patients, clients, and everybody that I think needs to hear it is something I think's important to hear right now. And that is that if we just seek to improve 1% a day, so if you could just be a little bit better daddy 1% a day, or a little bit better with how you eat 1% a day, or a little bit better at taking care of your body, or a little bit better at being genuine about getting to bed when you're tired instead of stimulating yourself and watching shit on television or however. But if we could improve 1% a day, which I think is realistically achievable for anybody, in 100 days, you have improved 100%. Yeah. Now think of how many years people spend trying to talk themselves into anything, only to realize that they could have now improved themselves about 1,000% with just 1% a day. And so I think it's just a matter of cultivating awareness. Like, I can tell you 1,000 ways I could do better 1%. And I can honestly say I do try to find ways. If I'm painting, I want to paint 1% better. If I'm hugging my kids or paying attention, I want to be 1% more attentive to them. If I'm, listening to what the needs of Angie or Penny is, I want to just see if I can get 1% more present and more responsive. I mean, look at all the ways we can do that. Just like, how do you put 1% on a barbell unless you got tiny little fucking slivers of a plate?
Plate mates.
Yeah, I mean, even that's hard to get 1% till you get some weight on the bar, right? Yeah. But the point is, doesn't it just boil down to, it's not an objective measure, it's just the intention and the willingness to do a little better.
Yeah, amen to that. It's like if you're doing a standing broad jump physical test, where are your eyes looking?
Right.
If your eyes are looking
at your feet.
Yeah, if your eyes are looking 4 feet in front of you, you're not going to jump as far. But if your eyes are looking further, that shows intent. You will go further.
Yeah.
How much further? Is it 1%? Is it half a millimeter? Is it a foot further? But the intent to get better. And I think, what do we need before we can really justify having the intent to get better as a man, as a father, as an artist, is we have to understand first it matters. And then we have to define why it matters. And that's something with being a father, which I think is the most important aspect of my life. I'm always going through my head why this matters. Mm-hmm. If I've, last week I was had the chance to host the Alex Jones show.
Oh, okay.
And he was out of town, and I didn't have time for it.
I thought it was shut off.
Oh no, they can't silence Alex Jones.
Well, shit, how do I get a hold of it? Because I don't get any emails or anything from him anymore.
AlexJonesLive.com.
Okay.
And you'll find it there. He also broadcasts it on Twitter and Rumble. So the government quick side note on Alex Jones, the government shut down InfoWars.
Right.
But as soon as that happened, he launched, I'm not doing the InfoWars show. I'm doing the Alex Jones show. So he can't do InfoWars, but you have Alex Jones doing him. Just the show is called a new name.
Okay, because I asked one of his friends, Mark England?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I asked Mark, what's he going to do now? And he said, I don't know. And I said, well, when he starts something up, let me know. And I didn't even know he was doing something. And I'll admit that Alex Jones, I love him. And I think he's very valuable because he exposes us to news streams that are useful and get around the back door of all the shit filters.
Yeah.
But I wish he would calm down and making everything a fucking emergency, because it's like you can only jack people's cortisol up so much before you completely disable their ability to respond to anything.
I agree. And I love Alex so much. Yeah, I agree with that. Like literally every one of his live streams on Twitter, it starts with the word emergency.
Yeah.
Emergency live stream is like, all right, just yeah, let's calm down. And it's
Otherwise, it's like the boy that cried wolf. You never know what is an emergency anymore. You don't know what's really important to focus on. And I just think that would be very helpful for him to realize, if you burn out your audience because they get control fatigue, there's like people trying to juggle too many fucking balls. Okay, what's the most important thing for us all to focus on right now, Alex?
Yeah.
And everybody else like that.
He's in it. Says the funny thing about Alex, it probably is an emergency in his mind.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe he needs that. There's been times on his show I thought this guy's going to die of a heart attack right on his fucking show, man.
Dude, he's probably in zone 5 heart rate the whole show. He's probably got the cardiovascular system of a marathoner. Just like heart rate's 180 for 4 hours in a row doing his show. But I forgot what my point was. I think my point was something like
we were doing something on the Alex Jones show. You were hosting it.
I'm a busy guy, and then I throw another major commitment in for the day that you got to take seriously. There's countless people watching it, and I'm up at 4 a.m. I was up till 11 p.m. working the night before, just like have to do stuff. And then there's my son. It's like I need to slow down and remind myself, spending time with him when my calendar would say I have no time and I'm only falling behind spending time with my son. I have to remind myself why it matters. And these, the things that seem most urgent are usually not the priority. Like I like to do this exercise. I just did it this morning where I'll look back on my deathbed and just imagine, what would I regret? What would I be grateful for? And this morning, I was going to take my mom to the airport. She's flying home. And I was saying to my lady, I have a really busy day today, just talking about our days. And she said, oh, well, I could take your mom to the airport because, you have so much to do. And I said, no, I'm taking her. On my deathbed, it's going to be one of the things I'll look back and be grateful I took my mom to the airport to spend that extra time with her. Mm-hmm. So my point being, I think before we can have intent to better ourselves as parents, doing our work, doing our art, we need to remind ourselves, 1, it matters, and 2, why does it matter to us? And then let our intent be fueled by that very like solar power, we're not going to run out of this fuel type of thing.
Yeah, I think, what rises in me to share with you and everybody listening in exactly the context of what you've just shared, because it seems to me like I'm always amazed how I get people, even when they're on workman's compensation and they're being paid 8 hours a day, they're so busy they don't have time to do anything for themselves. I'm like, how do you do that? But I think, as a father and as someone who's deeply connected to what you're saying, because I made a lot of mistakes with my first son that I'm doing a very good job to try to not make with my second 2 children. And that is the quality of the connection is often more important than the quantity.
Oh, I agree.
Like if you only have 5 minutes with one or both of your kids to just really connect to them and say, Daddy really loves you and I'm always with you. You're in my heart, and cuddle them and kiss them and tell them how great they are. Yeah. That 5 minutes can make a bigger difference than an hour where you're distracted, checking your phone and thinking, I really need to be somewhere else,
Yeah, kids they're always wiser than we can comprehend. I think if we're there physically, but our mind is not, because our mind is thinking, hey, I got to get this done to this. The children know when our mind isn't there. And if our mind isn't there, our heart's not going to be maximally connected. But I like to remind myself I'm physically here. My mind is here. Let me be here, because just like you, I value the quality more than the quantity. I like to have good quantity as well, but whether it's 5 minutes or 5 hours, quality is what really matters.
Yeah, simply put, it's good to have your mind and your feet in the same place.
Weird how that works. Maybe with everything.
Well, isn't that the nature of understanding? If your feet aren't, if your feet aren't under your standing, in other words, if you have a bunch of ideas about something that you don't really understand, you're not standing underneath the idea. You're not holding it.
Yeah, I like that.
Right. So when we're understanding, we're under what we're standing on or standing with.
Yeah.
That's what it means to understand. Something's going, or what you understand is under your standing means like you have a foundation of 4 doctors, Dr. Happiness, Diet, Movement, and Quiet. That's what you're standing on.
Yeah.
So if you flip it over and look at it that way, then you say, well, okay, I'm standing on my wisdom, my knowledge. So our future is actually standing on our children.
Yeah.
From that perspective, right? We if we don't want them to grow up to be more fucked up than we are, then we have to actually make sure we're less fucked up for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we're the ones they're standing on.
Yeah.
Let's be understanding of that so they have solid legs to stand on.
Yeah. Paradoxically, they're standing on us and we're standing on them.
Yeah.
And that's love.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
If you have listened to even one episode of Paul's podcast before, then you will know that he is passionate, and some would say even fanatical, about the quality of the food he eats and where it is sourced from. That is why the Chek household only eats pasture-raised meat, wild-caught fish, and organic produce. And that is why we subscribe to Wild Pastures meat delivery service. Each month, Wild Pastures delivers a box of meat that has been raised by family farmers in the USA using regenerative farming practices. 100% grass-fed and finished beef, pasture-raised chicken, and pasture-raised pork, as well as wild-caught seafood. You can customize the selection in your box, add on extra when you know you will be feeding more people, or change your options each and every month. You might be thinking that this will be too expensive for you, but Wild Pastures' mission is to offer the highest quality meat at the lowest prices because they want to transform the meat industry. And that means that more people need to be able to choose meat that is raised right. Their pasture-raised animals are part of a natural ecosystem. Their farmers use rotational grazing, practices that mimic nature, and so do not need to use synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, hormones, or antibiotics. This beautiful process doesn't require the external resources, such as massive amounts of GMO grain, required with environmentally depleting conventional methods. And best of all, the meat and fish taste amazing. And for Paul's listeners, Wild Pastures are offering you 20% off your subscription for life, $15 off your first order, and free shipping. Seriously, you can't find a better deal for top quality pasture-raised meat. Go to wildpastures.com/Paul Chek. You don't need a promo code. Just visit wildpastures.com/Paul Chek and start choosing the goodies you will have delivered to you in your first box.
At your recommendation, I did some digging into Thomas Massie. You shared a couple of videos with me, and I was actually a bit, how can I put this, disappointed in myself that I didn't really realize who he was. You know, I'm so busy keeping my eye on this Bill Gates clone we have in California named Gavin Nuisance that is destroying the beautiful state from which I have origin and love. There's only so many minutes and hours in a day, and as you are, I'm a very focused and busy guy. But I must say thank you, because I was like, wow, there is actually a congressman that has his head screwed on straight, who cares about people and who put a lot of work into supporting people. And the fact that he lost that election the way he did is a terrible, terrible writing on the wall that I think everyone should really fucking look at. So I just would love you to share what you think's important about that story of Thomas Massie and what this is all pointing to, because obviously you know him a lot better than I do. You've spent time supporting him. Give us your take on what this all means to us.
Yeah, to me, the greatest takeaway from Thomas Massie, whether he won or lost, and he happened to lose, the cards were stacked against him in ways that may not have been illegal, but they were certainly nefarious. The greatest takeaway is he's someone that doesn't compromise his principles.
Yeah.
If that was like done, period, let's learn from that example.
Even with his family. I was impressed about how he handles his family relationships.
Yeah. Like, first off, he's a guy who knows his principles. He knows what he stands for. And
he's a self-made man. He's not like Elon Musk, whose family is rich and all these made up behind the scenes billionaire globalists. This guy's the real deal.
Yeah. And he was willing to lose it all because he truly is one of the few that stands for what he believes in, and he's willing to die on that hill. Meaning, earlier we talked about how money is the root of all evil, all these people getting corrupted and paid off. And it's like, cool, let me just this little thing, I'll accept the money for that little thing.
Yeah.
Not Thomas Massie. He's, literally kind of burnt at the stake for it. And he's done so much. But one of the big things that caught my attention was this, and this isn't like world shattering, this is just common sense. Let's prosecute the Epstein criminals. Let's prosecute people that were abusing kids.
What a great idea.
Yeah, it's not even novel. It's just the right thing to do. Any human being with a conscience would say, yeah, that's the right thing to do. Let's explore the files, millions and millions of pages of them, and there might be some evidence of criminal activity to investigate further. So we're doing, by the book, we're not doing a witch hunt, but based on, the order of law, we're going to find and prosecute these people. So Thomas Massie stood for that. And when he stood for that, Trump said, you better back down. And Thomas Massie said, no, this is the right thing to do. And Trump came back and said, I'm going to primary you if you don't back down, meaning I'm going to get so much money put behind an opponent for your Congress seat, your primary elections coming up, and I'm going to endorse the opponent. We'll get major funding behind the opponent for all the marketing to convince sheep people to who to vote for. Like, what idiot decides their vote based on, dude, that ad I saw on Facebook or TV, that was pretty, I guess I'll vote. But that people do that. So Trump threatened that, and Thomas Massie said, well, this is the right thing to do. So he stayed principled while becoming enemy number one of one of the most powerful people in the world, President Trump. Then so many of Trump's supporters who aren't aligned with loyalty to truth, but they're aligned with loyalty to the person of Trump, turn against Thomas Massie. Meaning the guy had been celebrated for years before that. Like, this guy is amazing. He's not corrupt. He does the right thing. And a guy who he never just votes with the party. What's the group think Republican thing we're supposed to vote for? Thomas Massie wouldn't do that. 90% of the time, he happened to vote with the party because, like, he's conservative. His values naturally go that way. But the 10% of the time where they're doing stuff that it's like, no, that's out of alignment with my
against
values.
the Constitution.
Yeah, unconstitutional stuff. 10% of the time, he's like, no, I'll vote a different way. So Thomas Massie was crucified for just calling for justice for the Epstein victims. Thomas Massie is the principal person. There were only 3 members of Congress that were willing to stand for the Epstein files, and Thomas Massie spearheaded that. So he got the Epstein Transparency Act passed into law. That's how much it mattered to him, because it's the right thing to do, by far the right thing to do. And even though he got the Epstein Transparency Act passed into law, which says, hey, Department of Justice, you have to release the Epstein files. Like, transparent, just, you have to release them to the public. And they still haven't done that. They released some, and they redacted a lot of the information. There's still estimated 3 million files yet to be released. And the ones that they did release, they redacted information such as, here's who the FBI says is a criminal co-conspirator of Epstein. As in, like, there's good evidence this might be another criminal, aside from Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, who are the only ones that have faced criminal justice for crimes against children. So when they were, half the files were released redacted, Thomas Massie went back to Department of Justice and said, you must have accidentally redacted this name. Who redacted it? Whose name is it? And he got the name released. Les Wexner, he was the founder of Victoria's Secret, and he's the one that gave billions of dollars of his own wealth to Epstein just because. So in other words, it looks like the guy was very much a criminal co-conspirator. Epstein likely had blackmail on this guy. That's why he was forced to give Epstein billions of dollars of his wealth and control of his own estate. So Thomas Massie, he was told, you're going to lose everything if you don't comply. And Thomas Massie said, I will not comply. I'll do the right thing. He's principled. So even if he did nothing else, but he's also stood up to the big ag industry and these huge corporations on glyphosate. I believe same thing with data centers. So anyway, he was recently, lost the election because they had $32 million of Israel interest money put behind Massie. The other thing that really got Massie in hot water is he told the American people, this is a couple years ago at this point, but the word, and now like everybody's aware of it who pays attention, he told the American people how Israel has infiltrated Congress. It's through the Israel lobby called AIPAC. And he was the first one to share how that worked and how many people in the U.S. government are involved in this. In other words, accepting money for Israeli interests. Now, that's kind of treasonous. You can like Israel, you can like Russia, you can like China, but we would probably say, hey, if Russia was paying our congressmen, funding their campaigns, they're not doing that just because they think it's on. They're doing it because they want to have influence. Mm-hmm. We would say that's treasonous if Russia did it. Well, it's all be principled. It's treason if any country does it. Israel is this point. Thomas Massie exposed all that. That's how we know 331 of the 435 Congress people in the House are funded by the Israel interest lobby, AIPAC. And I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe if I remember right, 98 of the 100 senators in the U.S. government are funded by the Israel lobby. So guess what? That became another reason why Thomas Massie was put in the crosshairs of the establishment. You're not supposed to bring that shadow to light. People aren't supposed to know, because that corrupt stream of power, it needs the shadows to operate.
Yep.
Because it's nefarious. Now people know. People are calling it out. People aren't really standing for it. So it's just a matter of time before that either disintegrates or it has to get more sinister and devious to find a new shadow in how to operate. So Thomas Massie, the biggest takeaway from him is stay on your principles and compromise them for nothing. He was the ultimate person who refused to sell out. And even though he lost the election, there might be more awakening and awareness and empowerment to people because he lost, because now people are aware of how he lost.
I'm really hoping he starts something. When I watched all these videos and everything you shared with me and did a little digging into it, because I know you wouldn't tell me to look unless it was important. And the more I saw, the more I was interested. And I thought, maybe the blessing in disguise is that without all the government connections, he might be able to. I mean, he's the wise man, the kind of wise man I'm talking about. Like a guy like that is like a really skilled general in the military that can move the troops to real action. And I really, my dream is that he starts a movement, and imagine if he could educate us along the lines of an Alex Jones or some of the top podcasters in the world, or a Whitney Webb. Her investigative journalism is second to none. I mean, the fact that they haven't offed her is just a miracle.
It's a little surprising.
It is. But I just love Whitney Webb because of her brutal honesty. Whether people like it or not, it's the truth. And she cites all the information. Someone said to her in a podcast once, "Why do you think it is they haven't killed you yet?" She goes, "Well, everything I cite is publicly accessible. I'm just good at finding it."
Yeah.
And I just really hope that Thomas Massie sees the importance of him stepping into the leadership of a movement, because I think that's what it's going to take to, as a soldier, the reason you always want to kill the commander is because then the rest of the soldiers just go around in circles.
Yeah.
And so humanity is just going around in circles waiting for a savior. But we don't need a savior. We need a wise man that can say, this is what you got to do. These are the principles you got to stick to. And even if you have to go hungry to starve these companies out, it'll be a fast, well worthwhile.
Yeah.
And people need that kind of leadership. And that's what you're offering for young men. That's what I try to offer to everybody that I can support, each in our own unique ways, because that's what we need. I think we need a circle of chiefs. We need to have a elders round table with someone like that sitting at the head of it, so that we have wise business counsel, wise guidance on how to use your money intelligently. Where do you find and support the best farmers? Which organizations are best to raise your children for as far as education, like Waldorf schools or Montessori? I mean, when you look at what it takes to hold a culture together, we need somebody that's not financially invested, that has the wisdom and the resources to put the time into helping make the world a better place for everybody. And I just hope Thomas Massie sees this opportunity that way.
I hope so too. And I would have a hard time imagining him just retiring to his farm and saying, "I'm good." I think a guy like that, he knows why he's on this planet.
Well, he knows that the parasite infection will reach everyone, including his farm. So I don't think he can lay down and just stop.
Yeah, and I wondered about what you propose, and I do think it's true that he'll have more impact outside of the government. I mean, you just imagine, government structures are the least efficient thing in the world in terms of money spent having impact and helpful information. It's like, we need a $10 million we need $10 million to feed these homeless people. Cool. Well, that's going to cost $1 billion in order to have $10 million to buy food, because of all this inefficiency. And if you look at like Elon Musk, I don't agree with everything he does, but like the guy's had an impact on humanity, impact on free speech through Twitter, and how that being the beacon in the competitive marketplace. Now other big tech companies, they have to be light on their censorship because of the competition Twitter. They're giving people what they want. Just here's a platform, say what you want. Don't break the law, but say what you want. So look at Elon when he got into the government. During, I guess, the early months of Trump's administration, the first 6 months of it, he had Doge in there. They were uncovering hundreds of billions of dollars of waste and fraud. Mm-hmm. What they do, they shut down Doge.
Yeah.
And that just shows here's probably the most capable man on the planet. I mean, the guy puts rockets into orbit. He makes this car like nobody's ever seen. Elon has done so much in the private sector. You put him in government, he had zero impact. So you think of Thomas Massie, if you have 100 units of wisdom to give, put yourself inside the bureaucracy and corruption of the government. If you have 100 units of positivity to give to humanity, what can get out? 10 units at best. But in the private structure, it can be, or private industry, it can be 1 for 1. If you have 100 units of positive impact, you're not creating bureaucratic crap to dampen your impact. You're just having a direct impact. So long story short, I think both in terms of educating humanity, awakening the American people, and exposing what's going on, and however else he chooses to do it, I can only imagine Thomas Massie will be more powerful outside of the government. So we might be looking back in a few years and be like, thank God the corrupt system voted him out.
Millions of people are carrying parasites, and most don't even know it. In fact, the chances are good that you have 1 or more parasites inside you right now, leeching off your nutrients and strength. But before you get all freaked out about it, here is some good news. Organifi's Parasite Cleanse Kit contains a unique and specialized blend of carefully chosen natural elements that help locate, kill, and remove unwanted guests and pests from the body. Like a magnet finding iron in the sand, these ingredients adhere to the toxins and parasites and pull them out of hiding, ultimately removing them from your body. This 2-step combination of 100% natural ingredients includes the Parasite Cleanse capsules and the Bind and Restore tincture, creating an easy-to-use cleanse that is perfect to help get rid of your unwanted guests. Now is a great time to try Organifi's Parasite Cleanse Kit and save 20%. Go to Organifi.com/Chek20 and use the promo code Chek20. That's Organifi.com/CHEK20 and use the code Chek20 for a 20% discount.
Well, this is a hard thing to have to say, but that flag on the wall behind you, when I saw how they rigged that against Thomas Massie, it's like, okay, they just took our flag from us.
Yeah.
And we've got to take it back. And the thing that pesters me like a fly that won't fucking stop trying to get reincarnated is, where the fucking hell is Israel getting all this fucking money?
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting it from us. They're stealing it. Unless somebody knows, they must have mountains of freaking gold. But from everything I can see, they are the ultimate pirates. And I don't mean to say this about the people of Israel. I'm talking about Netanyahu and the people behind all this crap. I remember, did you ever see the 8th Turning video that Alex Jones showed?
No.
Oh my God, it was shocking as hell. Somebody got footage from inside one of the Israeli government meetings, and Netanyahu was going off. And he repeatedly said, we are going to use AI to control everyone, to stomp anyone saying anything out against Israel. We will imprison them, we'll kill them, whatever we've got to do. I mean, the amount of times he mentioned the use of AI to control everybody must have been 30 times. And I'm like, this guy is a bona fide, dangerous psychopath.
Yeah.
who has his hands in way too many fucking pies and has the strings on. I mean, he is the new Epstein.
Yeah. I have to highlight and just repeat the one thing you said, because there's a psyop going on out there psyops always have a strong narrative component, a censorship component, and tribalism component. You learn to recognize psyops so you know when you're in one. And one of the censorship tribalistic components of the psyop going on with Israel is you're smeared as an anti-Semite if you say basic truths about the Israel government. You're told you hate Jewish people, you're an anti-Semite. It's like, no, this is not about religion or the people of Israel. It's about the government. So let's be adults for a second.
Yes, and I watched a video where a guy broke down Netanyahu. He's Polish. He's not even Israeli.
Yeah, Milikowski is his actual Polish
He's
name.
not even Israeli. And this is another fucking dog and pony show going on.
Yeah, and then there was Tucker Carlson published this on his website. It was a couple-hour long documentary called the Bibi Files, and there were Israeli journalists and people from Netanyahu's old administration that are now whistleblowers on him. And part of what they found, they got thousands of hours of footage. And Netanyahu, he's been investigated for corruption for so long. The trial keeps getting pushed back because he pushes it back. And in this interrogative footage of literally the Israeli police having Netanyahu, they're questioning him, they're interrogating him. What Netanyahu admitted to is funding Hamas. And it turns out he was funding Hamas with $35 million a week. Hamas, just so we know, that's who Netanyahu tells you is enemy number one. They came in to Israel on October 7th and massacred Israeli people. Yes, they did. It's a travesty. Who enabled it? Netanyahu was funding them with $35 million. And what he told the police, again in this interrogative footage, the public was never meant to see. He told the police, well, I do that because that's how you control the enemy. That's what he told the police.
Jesus.
And then you have an Israeli soldier testifying, October 7th. How did Hamas get in? The Israeli soldier was testifying, I was on the border and I was given a stand down order. And then they play the recording of the stand down order. So I share that to say that's how corrupt Netanyahu and the Israeli government is. They set their own false flag. They set their own people up to be massacred so they could have the justification to do this greater Israel, take over more land in the Middle East. It's obviously a war of aggression, but they get to have the optic. I don't know if anybody believes it anymore, but the optic and their justification is we're just defending ourselves because look what they did to us. Yeah, Netanyahu set that up. Any corruption deserves to be called out because the truth matters. Now, if it's the U.S. government, plenty of corruption, I think we call that out. We have to call that out because it matters. And Israel, that matters too, especially because how intertwined America has gotten in this agenda of very corrupt government people there.
Yeah, the sad thing that this brings up in my mind, this is just a replay of the Osama bin Laden situation being trained by our CIA and our tax dollars and, the whole story. It's like this. That's another thing. Humanity's got to start waking up to the fact that this playbook is like they don't change it. It's the same shit. You study George Soros and his tactics. And what's the book? Naomi Klein, I think, wrote it. God, what's the name of that book? But it's all about how George Soros overthrows governments and wipes them out for hire. It's just a shocking revelation. There's even a documentary on the book on Amazon that I watched, even though I read the book. I wish the hell I can remember the name of it. It might come to me before we end. But my point is, we got to start waking up to this shit because we're funding all this.
Did you know the U.S. government still gives the Taliban tens of millions of dollars every week?
What the hell?
Do you know who Sean Ryan is?
I've heard the name.
He does an amazing podcast. He is just a truth seeker. Former Navy SEAL.
Right. Yes, I've listened to it. Yeah.
He was over in all the Afghanistan wars, watching his friends die, putting his life on the line. And, so he's been the major crusader. He actually testified about we're sending, I forget the exact number, but it's tens of millions of dollars every week to the Taliban still. And he's saying, we need to stop this. First off, nobody knew we were doing this, but we were. Now Sean Ryan's brought this to light, and he's pressuring Congress to shut it down, and Congress keeps resisting it. And you go, why? Why are you resisting? Why do you want to keep doing this? So back to the playbook, it's not a very good playbook.
No, it's just, and all these types of conversations like this podcast, which, my podcast is listened to now in 172 countries. And everything we're saying is not an American problem because this goes on in almost every major country in the world. It's the same all you got to do is watch the movies. The movies are telling you about human nature, and it's the same shit everywhere. And that's why shadow work's important. That's why wake up, clean up, grow up, and show up is more important than ever. I had a bunch of other things I wanted to get into with you, but I'm out of time, and I want to ask you just a couple more questions. So here's the second to the last one I want to talk to you about. What aspects of all the stuff that we're talking about do you feel is our fate, and what options do you have regarding creating and choosing our destiny right now? I mean, do you, JP, with everything you know, think we're just too far into the fate that people don't have what it takes to stand up? Or do you think with Thomas Massie and everyone doing their best to share wisdom and inspire people, we can get clear on what it means to be an American, what it means to be free, what it means to be a human being, my God, and co-create a destiny together?
Yeah, I don't think we need to play victim about our destiny. Here's how I look at it. Fate is you're going to be served up some challenges.
Yeah.
We've talked about a lot of challenges, but you define your destiny. You create your destiny based on how you respond to those challenges. Do you just lay down? Nah, that's too powerful. I don't have the energy. Well, what can I do? You lay down to the challenge that your fate has brought. Well, you just created your destiny.
Yep.
Not a good one, but you created it. Or you can look at the challenge fate has brought you and respond in a way where you get stronger. You stand for what matters to you, and you help create that. Well, you've just created a pretty cool destiny worthy of emulation.
In my studies of Earl Nightingale, which for a lot of people your age and younger would be even an old guy, but you know my library and my study habits. But Earl Nightingale said something pretty important. He was a great motivational speaker and teach you how to be successful. He said, he gave a definition of what a rut is. And I think metaphorically, most of the world population is in a rut. And what Earl Nightingale said is a rut is a grave with both ends kicked out.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to climb out of it. It's like when a record is stuck in a groove and it just plays the same thing over and over again. You got to tap the record player and make the needle jump, or pick it up and put it down, or replace the record, right? We got to tap, jump, bump, replace. But I think it all starts with getting clear what we all need together. So that's not a religious ideology. We need clean soil. We need clean food. We need clean water, and we need clean air.
Yeah.
I think if we start with that, we'll have the nutrition to start thinking and have the energy to start acting together. And I call that the game board of life. If we don't take care of the game board, all these shit shows don't matter anyhow. Yeah. So if there's one thing that'll bring us together, it's support organic and biodynamic farmers and free-range animal farming and ethical animal farming, support real school teachers, support real doctors. I mean, we got to go to, like, who are the people that every tribe had to have in place in order to make a tribe work? And what is it that we all need to not only stay alive, but to cultivate vitality in young people so that they actually have the energy and the intelligence to deal with the human problems that will be inevitable no matter how many principles we get right, because we're human.
Yeah, what I'm hearing you describe is getting outside of the rut. Like everything you just said, good soil, good doctors, like that's outside of the rut. And I think it's just worth emphasizing. You can go deeper into the rut with the best of intentions, with a lot of motivation and energy for positive change. You can just go deeper into the rut. So one thing I think it's important to be very cognizant where we're applying most of our energy. We can go onto a game board where the only scenario is losing. And what I mean by that is there's a corrupt system, government, industry. If you go into that and try to create the win through that frame, you're probably going to lose. Like a system that's kind of built to be corrupt is probably going to just be corrupt.
That's the Thomas Massie story right there.
It is. So make sure to step out of that frame into the frame that you can control, the frame that honestly matters more. And you've just stepped outside of the rut. I think the biggest mistake I see people do, I fall for it sometimes, is I step into their frame, the corrupt frame. That's where they want you. Because it's not going to change meaningfully. It's not built to. So we need to make sure we take control, we use our power, go into the frame of our choosing rather than the frame where the rut just gets deeper.
Someone gave me a slogan one time that I think is so appropriate to this conversation: act locally, think globally.
Yeah.
And I think,
got to get small to be big.
Yeah. I mean, we've set our farm up. I got fish stocked in the pond. I got a well. I got greenhouse. I got animals. If the bottom falls out, I got solar power. I got batteries. I mean, I spent meaning me and Penny and Angie spent a lot, all our money to do this. But the point I'm making is, if everything collapses around us, if there was a nuclear war and we could survive the radiation, we could survive. Yeah. And I've always felt that what we got to do is we got to create small units where townships have their own power, their own medical resources. In other words, if you have a bunch of small units and you knock 5 or 6 out, you can just connect to network neighboring units while we rebuild. If you think of a beehive, it's got a lot of little honeycombs in it. If you knock half of them out, well, the bees start rebuilding, but they live off the honey and the ones that didn't get knocked out. But the way the system's set up now is we're also dependent on 5 companies provide 90% of the food eaten worldwide. That's a bad idea. Yeah. That's centralization, not diversification. Yeah. So we've got to make sure our food, our water, and all the essentials is diversified as broadly as possible, so we have small units of support that can network for emergencies. So I think we got to start acting locally and thinking globally. Yeah. And everything we've just talked about is on the fucking table and very important.
Yeah. And how insane is this? Just modeling how not to do it and the insanity of it. So many people with the best intentions, they'll put in so much effort, like what's going on in Washington, the government, look at this stuff. And they want a better world for them and their children. So they're focusing on it. They're talking about it. but that's all they're focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you're doing that so you can have a better life? Yeah. Where do you live? I live in California. Okay, so because you want a better life for you and your family, you're putting all your focus on something 2,000 miles away, thinking that's the best way to have a better life here. That's just insane. It's like, hey, I want the vegetables in my backyard to grow. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to water the ground 2,000 miles away.
I'm going to go to a Trump rally. Come home and my food's all dead. Oh, you just gotta have so much empathy for human beings. It's such a, the earth is such a schoolyard. It's the only way I've ever been able to reconcile the earth, because I've studied history very deeply, and, right in the back half of the Tao Te Ching by Richard Wilhelm, he gives an explanation of many things that's very beautiful and profound. And one of the things he says, for example, is that the emperors and kings of the world have a long history of bringing the wisest sages of each of the world's great religions in, and the emperors and kings have their people master it all and then use it to control people's minds. Yeah. Right? So religion has been used as a tool of social manipulation for thousands and thousands of years, and people, don't get it. But we've just got to get back to some very basic things. That's why I don't know if you remember, all the way back in the beginning of COVID, I was on, what's his name, from Brian London Reel.
Oh, yeah. Brian Rose.
Brian Rose. And he said, what do you think's going on with COVID? I said, COVID is a huge fucking distraction. Yeah. It's not nearly the threat that we have right now with the degradation of our soils, our water supply, our air, and the things we all depend on. And it kind of made him pause. And I had countless people email me and text me and call me after that saying, oh my God, that was such a wake-up call. But the reason I bring that up is because we all have a backyard. During the Second World War, 50% of the food eaten while there was bread lines came out of people's backyards. Mm. And so if we realize we're in a third world war, it's just being fought digitally, we've got to start with the fundamental basics. And that's why I'm elaborating on what you just said, because the California example, you're away at a Trump rally while your plants are dying, right? Yeah. And
you want better plants, so you're going to the Trump rally.
Yeah, and so we just have to come back to basics. But yeah. I could talk to you for 1,000 years for a million reasons, and I always have loved our time together. I just want to close by saying, JP, what do you want to make people more aware of? Websites, anything that you want to say, hey, check this out?
Yeah, my biggest passion project is, I believe the world needs more strong, whole, capable men. That's why I created the Better Man Project. So I've got all kinds of content that should entertain, but also inspire and guide. That's my new YouTube channel. You can find it, Better Man Project Official. So I'd invite people, check that out, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think and what you're inspired to do to make yourself a better man. Admittedly, it's kind of sexist. It's for men, but nonetheless, women are the best. We need men. We need to do better. So Better Man Project Official, that's my biggest passion project. Please feel free to check that out.
For the listeners, if you don't think JP's Better Man Project is extremely important, I encourage you to listen to or read the book, The Lost Boys by Leonard Sachs, MD. And you'll realize this project that JP's on is critical in importance. And Leonard Sachs, MD's book, The Lost Boys, is a very shocking expose of why your program and anyone doing a program like it is critical.
Well, amen. I appreciate that, brother.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, JP. It's just a lovely chance to hang out with you. I wish I could give you a hug. We're a ways away from each other, but consider yourself hugged and even kissed on that gray gray wise beard of yours.
I do consider myself hugged and kissed, and appreciate you having me on, Paul, and appreciate you being a friend, a mentor, and a brother, just all wrapped into one for, holy Lord, over 25 years now. So, yeah, man, it was such a joy chatting with you today.
You too. Thank you. And thank you to all my sponsors for all your love and support and amazing products. Anything you buy from the sponsors puts money in the hands of organic and biodynamic and free-range farmers, takes care of them, takes care of the world, takes care of you, and a little goes to the podcast. That's a circle of love. We all want to keep going. Thanks to all of you. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I hope you enjoyed time with JP as much as I do. He's got a lot of great stuff out there, as most of you surely know. Check out his Better Man project. If you're a man, get in it. Get on it. Let's do it together. And I love all of you, and thank you. I just like to conclude by saying, hey, we can create our destiny. We are safe. We are home. We are whole. Aho, Great Spirit. It is done. It is done. It is done. See you soon. Thanks, JP. Lots of love, buddy.
Thank you for listening to Spirit Gym with Paul Chek and today's guest, JP Sears. You can connect with JP on his new YouTube channel at Better Man Project Official, and watch his comedy on his YouTube channel at Awaken with JP. Subscribe to his email list for updates and more on his website at awakenwithjp.com. For more interaction with Paul, and to get priority notification about an exciting new extension of his Spirit Gym program and community, go to myspiritgym.com and sign up to the waitlist. And finally, if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the show on the podcast platform of your choice. This podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, and YouTube.